why come here? When we think about the US as it is right now, why would anybody want to visit this place, let alone live here? Think about what's going on right now. Think about all the things that you've seen since Pumpkin Spice Palpatine got elected. Think about all the things that you saw in 2025. And now the things that you've seen so far in 2026. That should give you enough of a warning and enough of an understanding that this is not the place that you need to be. We're literally a country where people are being rounded up and dragged off the streets and disappeared. So the question that I have for anybody that's outside of the US as we head into the spring and summer months, why would you come here? Why would you visit any place in the US? Now, the data shows that a lot of people are actually asking themselves that question and staying away. But there's one event that's happening in North America and in several places in the US that hasn't been impacted by all of the shenanigans that have been going on. And that event is the World Cup. And the question that I keep thinking about is, why would anybody come here to visit and consume this event? There are matches scheduled all across the country, and the presence of masked goons isn't going to be any lighter just because there's a sporting event going on. And we've heard plenty of stories about tourists who've come to the US for one thing or another and have ended up getting disappeared or detained for weeks, if not months. Is that the kind of environment that we should be holding a global sporting event? The fact that FIFA hasn't canceled all of the events in the US and shifted it to Canada and Mexico is really strange. And while they haven't canceled any of those events, they are noticing that ticket sales have been down. The expected boom around tournament sites hasn't materialized because guess what? Nobody wants to spend their money to go visit a police state and risk getting themselves deported, tortured, and disappeared. That's not exactly the ideal condition for a global sporting event. And let's understand who the targets are for scrutiny when it comes to getting picked up by ICE. They're not people from Northern Europe. They're people from the global South. Those are the people that are getting rounded up repeatedly and disappeared. And this is the premier global event with a global audience and a global fandom and countries and teams from all around the world that are coming to North America to participate in this event. The question that I have for those countries, their coaches, the players, and FIFA, why are you putting yourselves at risk by showing up here? That's a question that everybody needs to think deeply about. And you also need to understand the situation during the summer is going to be even more erratic than what we've seen in the first quarter of 2026. Things aren't going to get more reasonable just because the event is here. In fact, it's going to get much worse because the dementia patient in charge is sundowning as we speak and is threatening nuclear war to anybody and everybody that pisses him off. So is that the environment that you want to travel into for a sporting event? And if that isn't convincing enough, look at it this way. If we hit the rewind button and go back to 1930s and 1940s era Germany, would that be the destination that you would want to take a vacation to in the middle of all that? Because there isn't much of a difference between 1930s and 1940s era Germany and 2026 USA.